Well, tensions between Israel and the U.S. are growing. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says that his country will stand alone if it has to, after President Biden announced the U.S. would pause certain military weapons to Israel if it launches an offensive on Gaza's southern city of Rafah. So for more on all of this, let's bring in CBS News foreign policy and national security contributor, Lieutenant General H.R. McMaster. He also served as national security advisor in the Trump administration. Very nice to have you here. Often we're speaking remotely, so it's good to have you here. Let us talk about this new stance coming from the White House that President Biden is willing to halt the delivery of some military aid to Israel, depending on what they do in Rafah. I've heard some praise for this move. I've heard some criticism. What does it really mean?
Well, Anne-Marie, I'm really disappointed about it. I just have to tell you. I mean, I think it's feckless on the part of the Biden administration. I think it's really important to note that Hamas has said they want every day to be like October 7th. And so I don't see how the Israelis have any other option but to destroy Hamas. And in Rafah, I mean, just yesterday, the Israeli Defense Forces in the limited operation in Rafah destroyed 10 tunnels. And so this is where Hamas's leadership is cowering. This is where they're holding the hostages. They've killed many of those hostages. So, you know, on the same day that President Biden said, you know, likened October 7th to the Holocaust, that's the same day he's cutting off munitions. Now, I think it's a valid concern to say the IDF has to do more, do everything they can to minimize civilian casualties. That's valid. But now to say you can't go into Rafah, actually, from a military perspective, they have to go in. And when you begin a major operation like into Rafah, that's when you're going to have fewer civilian casualties. When you do these raids into Rafah and you have to use air power and you have an unclear knowledge of the situation and you don't have troops in close contact who can discriminate between combatants and non-combatants, that's when the casualties, civilian casualties, are higher. So it doesn't make sense from a military perspective to say, don't go into Rafah. And I think it's kind of feckless behavior. I think actually he seems to me to be pandering to kind of the self-loathing far left that we see taking over U.S. campuses and engaged in pro-Hamas activity.
But let me ask you, General, well, we should also say that you can be against the loss of civilian life in Gaza and not be pro-Hamas, right? You can,
yes.
For those young students who are protesting. But let me ask you just, again, to dig down a little deeper into what you were suggesting, because I wondered from a tactical standpoint, why do we need these types of bombs in an area? It's not like Russia and Ukraine. There isn't a military, like a regular army fighting the IDF. Why not to limit casualties, send in the IDF with tanks, with personnel, and try to secure Rafah that way, as opposed to dropping indiscriminate bombs on the civilian population?
Well, an important factor is at times when you're in a dense urban area, you have to deal with like 3 dimensions and tall buildings. But in Rafah, there's a subterranean dimension to this. So on occasion, what you need to do is have like delayed fuses, for example, for bombs that actually don't do a lot of collateral damage because they penetrate first and then explode. But what's also important about these munitions is they're very important to securing Israel's northern border. And Hezbollah is very active in southern Lebanon. Just yesterday, they fired a lot of rockets and missiles. And you have to remember, there are 70,000 Israelis who are evacuated from northern Israel. Right? These are families that are displaced. They want to get back to their homes. And what the IDF is using many of these munitions for now is in southern Lebanon. Every time there's a rocket fired from southern Lebanon, there's a big IDF response with some of these munitions.
Before we let you go, I want to ask you about the situation with the war in Ukraine. There is some news that Russia is launching sort of a new attack, particularly in the Kharkiv area. I think that there is military aid coming in the coming weeks, I think was what was said, which is rather vague. Has this war fallen off the radar for the U.S.?
You know, I think it's not off the radar, but I think we delayed so long, because of this narrow majority, Republican majority in Congress, and the degree it's super empowered some of the neo-isolationist, far right, that delayed so much of this assistance. And, hey, the laws of physics still apply. Even though that has passed through Congress, and I'm so glad it did, it's going to take a while to get those munitions there. And, as General Douglas MacArthur said, every strategic failure can be summed up in 2 words: too late. So we have to hope that this hasn't been too late.
Yeah.
General H.R. McMaster, always great to have you,
Yeah.
and especially here in person. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Great to be with you. Thank you so much.